My mother died when she was 52 from cirrhosis, and I drank with her just before she died and told her, look what it's doing to you, but never me. And we drank, and I left. That was on Monday, and on Thursday she died. I was still out drinking. I didn't know she died. I have a brother, drank in Arlene, come out and got in his car and drove up the road and run into a mail truck, and he was killed. And Clara said I was real cold because she watched me bury those two, and I never did cry. And she said, why is that? I said, because we know when we drink that it might be the last one. And we accept that. We hope it isn't true, but we know there's so many ways you could die from it.
I guess the reason why I sobered up was probably because one day I was watching my mom walk to town. She's 79 years old, and she was going to go down to the bar and sit at the bar all day and drink. And I thought, oh, how sad. Why doesn't she just stay home and do grandmotherly stuff with her grandchildren? And then kind of come to the realization that I'm not far from being an elder myself. And I thought, what am I going to do? Follow her footsteps, you know. She go in a bar and they say, oh, all right, Mary, you know, especially first of the month when she got her Social Security check, because she'd start buying drinks and everybody'd be crowded around her table. And I thought, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be part of that.
These stories are all too familiar. We have been broken apart as a people, yet excluded from the larger group. In this process, we lost our sense of belonging. It's been difficult to continue our sense of identity with the tribe that we once had. Now shame trails after us in our search for where we fit.
I remember times when I went to the store with my grandmother, who never knew any English at all, would be asking questions about prices of different items in the store. And I would tell her in a low voice what it was. And then she wouldn't hear me, and she would ask me again to say, she would tell me. In Indian, in Salish, she would tell me stem, you know, meaning what. And I would tell her a little louder, and she wouldn't hear me yet, and she'd say stem. And then I'd be looking around and see if anybody was, you know, see if anybody heard us, you know, because I was ashamed of the language. I was ashamed of who I was. All through school that I was ashamed of who I was.
But when I went to school, and, you know, it seemed like I was ashamed of my being Indian. I was ashamed of my language. I was ashamed of, you know, because I had non-Indian friends, and a lot of people, a lot of non-Indian kids made fun of me, and just seemed like I was ashamed of my traditional ways and Indian ways.
Because of who I am as a person, that there's a whole different story out there. And I think that oftentimes we get a story about people who are full-bloods or quarter degree of Indian blood. And then there are those of us that are on the very other end of the scale, with very limited Indian blood, very small amounts. And just as I think full-bloods talk about their shame in being Indian, those of us on the other end, there's also a shame that we're not enough Indian. And that shame, I think, is just as intense for us as for those who are ashamed of who they are. I think that shame comes from not really fitting in either place.
I never was ashamed of it. You know, I didn't have the shame, but the aggression came out when I started drinking. You know, because first thing they call you chief. You know, my name is Charlo. A sawmill chief, you know, that's... But when I started drinking, and then that's when the aggression came on. So it was not fighting because I was ashamed, it was fighting the anger of what we suffer all of the years that we did.
This feeling of not fitting in, not knowing where we belong, had its roots in actions taken long ago. Our people were forbidden to practice the traditions, were told that our values, our language were not to be passed on. The confusion that this caused contributed even more to feeling separate.
When I was in the Earthlines, you know, we were taught to let go of the past, that we needed to become white people. And it was kind of confusing, and I always felt guilty for listening to my elders, you know, still being from a real traditional family, that we weren't supposed to follow those yet. I don't know, I guess I really become confused, in which after I first sobered up, I was still confused.
Well, there's so many things that happen to us as Indian people. You know, the thing about not being Indians not being good, you know, and that was kind of a message given to us from all around. So we kind of felt that, you know, geez, we're just really completely different. We're no good. It isn't good being Indian. Why should we speak our language? Why should we have all these traditions and be different? You know, so I went through that kind of for a while too. And when I went to college, in high school too, you know, I could feel that. I still felt that, you know.
Starting out in my sobriety, I always felt I'm not traditional, or I guess the shame of letting go of those while I was drinking kind of had me confused for a long time.
And then you come to a point where you're lost between Indian and white. Where do I belong? You wonder, you know, you look at the Indians, the real Indians, boy, I don't belong there, you know, I haven't been there for so long. And you look at them and you wish you could be like them. And then, you know, the white people don't accept you. And then you started drinking, you know, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And I think that's why some of the people don't quit drinking. They never find who they are.
Because there's this pedigree stuff with Indian people that we're not sure where we fit in. You know, the color of my skin tells me I'm not Indian, but in my heart I know I am. And I think that's really difficult for people who are on the end that I'm at, on the end of the scale that I'm at. And I think people medicate that. I think that's the thing that a lot of people, or some people, choose to medicate, about not fitting in, not being the right color. And although some people may think they medicate because they're too brown, others of us medicate because we're not brown enough.
There is a movement now among those of us who want to reclaim our heritage. We are finding that it is belonging that gives us a greater awareness of who we are. Going back to our traditions fills a gap that has existed in many of our lives for a long time.
The Indian people, this tribe, maybe I could say. They have their own direction, traditions, and ways that I like to see them turn back to for their own survival and protection.
And I think there's a way to balance having both the old and the new, and it's just, you know, I mean, it's pretty hard, but it can be done. I mean, there's where I'm at right now, I guess it would be just by trying to do a little of both. And in a sense, you need to know where you came from, knowing your culture, your language. It gives, it helps you in this world today, because you need that I guess it is that individual awareness of who you are. And
you're taking your way of life. That way of life today is what I'm taking from the past and using it today. Because I realize now, after so many years, that I can't change who I am. I can't become a Mr. Smith or a non-Indian overnight. I can't, because I am who I am, and I'm going to stay this way. So therefore, I got to take and continue what made me today. So hopefully that my children and other children could continue on.
And just being in sobriety, the short time I've been, I realize, and I find that it's really helpful to have your family supporting you in this, in which I was really fortunate. My mother and my brother and I all sobered up about the same time, and we all supported one another. Although I had a brother that had been sober for 20 years and still come around us, but he had a lot of strength, and his tradition, or what he followed, was the sweat house, and he really believed that way. So that was his support and got him through these years when we were all drinking and partying. And I really believe that we do have to work it as a family, as a community, or as a tribe, to get back all this tradition that has lost. We can't go back to the old ways. There's no way we can in the 1991, but we can bring some of the values that we had as growing up.
Cultural rituals that the tribe provides are numerous, and if you choose to participate in it, your social life can be extremely full, and it also leads to what we call bicultural competence. To succeed in the world today, we need to acknowledge that there's this whole society out here that is surviving, that knows nothing about Indian people, and we as Indian people participate in that culture. To be in balance with ourselves, we also need to know what our traditional rituals are and how we can bring them together to form a bridge. One of the ways that it was real important for me when I decided to give up alcohol, or to give up socializing using alcohol as the focus, going to bars, going to football games where I would drink or whatever. One of the things that I substituted that with, or filled that up with, was doing things with people who take a more cultural focus, a more traditional focus. I began going to Indian dances, war dances, began dancing, felt comfortable in being able to make my own wing dress and my own quill work for my dance outfit, and really felt a sense of pride in being able to do that, and to be around other people who I really believe lead this movement towards sobriety. There's a real connection or drawing of those people to the cultural activities, the powwows or giveaways, feasts. Even now, like birthday parties that we have for Louise McDonald, it's people coming together sober and it's the same people that may be participating in more dances, but it's a regaining of socializing in a healthy celebration sort of way, rather than a coming together around dysfunction, which alcohol and other drugs bring.
A lot of times I go to these functions and stuff. I have to bring myself to do this sober and alcohol-free and drug-free, and because I got to learn how to play again, you know. Even at a war dance this year, at the war dances, I was really uncomfortable. I was ashamed to get out and have people say, maybe my sobriety has a lot to do with it too, because I was such a person that created a lot of commotion when she was drinking. You know, I was really loud, and maybe this is why I have a hard time with going out into the open. It's only been 2 years since I sobered up. And what Aaron calls it, I'm still tender, still trying to feel comfortable to go out. Even at a war dance, dancing around there, grabbing the shawl and dancing. I felt just stiff-legged, and you know, I was so worried about whatever other people were thinking, and they probably didn't even see me out there. But I guess when you're new into sobriety, that's how you feel. You feel just unique or something. I don't know. And then once I got into the middle, and then people really started dancing, you could just feel it come off the ground and hear it, you know, and it got real comfortable.
I sweat a lot with my nephews, and my one little nephew, you know, last fall, he just kind of turned into adolescence, and his friends were too. So I asked Roy and Terry and some other friends if we could have a sweat for them, you know, and my prayer for them was that was to, you know, just kind of changing from being little boys now to becoming young adults within our tribe, so that I prayed for them and we prayed for them, I mean, that they would become, know that they are protectors and they are young providers for our tribal people, for their families, and prayed for them to have respect for all things, for life, for themselves and for their peers, and especially the young girls, women that they're with, young girls, so that they'll have proper respect with them. So I think those kind of ceremonies that were that I wanted them to learn about and be a part of, because I grew up with that, and for a while it changed, and we didn't do that. So,
but there's a lot of things, you know, that I've lost because of alcohol, and a lot of things that I don't remember, that, you know, the old man and my mom taught me, showed me, things like that. But there's a lot of things that's coming back. That's nothing that come back. There's dancing. I think I was about 10, 12 years old when I quit dancing. And I didn't start dancing until 89, 90, about 89 when I started dancing again. And I made my own outfit, put it back together. The things that I had was, you know, who knows where it went. But that was our real tradition thing that I really learned was language, and we used to dance. My mom and dad invite people, come over and dance half of the night, wake up, and I was a little guy, dance till about midnight and get tired, go to sleep, wake up at 3 in the morning, they're still dancing. They dance till early morning hours. So that's what I really try to bring back, is mostly is our dancing, our traditional theme, because to me, our drum beat is like a heartbeat, or, you know, something that keeps us rolling. Or
a while ago, I used to think I lost all of the teachings that I got from the old ones when I was growing up, and there was like Jerome and Agnes, Wiskin was there. There was a lot of real old Indians there, and
we're going to invite all of the people.
I learned a lot from all of them. And then we go on to the drinking part, and then you forget it, you know it. But what I'm finding out is I haven't lost them. You know, when I see them again with the culture committee doing things, when I see it, and then it all comes back, you know, and then, so really I haven't lost it. I've more or less put it away for a while.
Where I realized where I've lost a lot of my traditional ways that I've been taught when I was younger was when I went to culture camp last week, and it brought back a lot of memories from my childhood before I started the drinking, and like the huckleberry picking, the jump dances, the various places we went for the jump dances, the medicine dances.
Those are the reasons why we have culture camps. Those are the reasons why we have language camps, is that although we might not be able to continue and do this on a daily basis, at least we could share once or twice a year in hopes that they can take that what they learn in these summer camps and continue on their own to seek more information, to get educated more.
There's a lot of people went back to their traditional ways, their beating, they're trying to talk the language, they're doing the dances. There's a lot that we have forgotten.
Taking up the traditional ways has provided us with a base to use in our everyday life now. We can find strength in the wisdom that was once taught here and bring this forward using this knowledge in solving modern problems. Remembering our ancestors helps in defining ourselves and restores pride lost for too long.
By reincorporated the old traditions, it puts me in a position where I'm at now. Is it by knowing your culture, your language again, and it gives you a sense of identity and a sense of and if you have a positive identity, I guess it gives you a sense of a pride and a sense of high self-esteem because you know where you came from. You know that your ancestors and your grandfolks were a proud people, and proud of who they were, what they knew. And I think by individuals having a sense of knowledge of their own culture and traditions and language, it will boost their self-esteem to give them feeling good about themselves, and that's what's kind of important here today, I guess, in this world.
I achieved pride, I guess, just by realizing who I was, realizing that I could never change the color of my skin. I could never change the way of life of my grandparents and their grandparents. And hearing the different things that they did, that they accomplished, and that they survived. That's why the Indians are here today, is because they're survivors. They work hard. The pride that you look at, you see our elders, the pride that they have, they've been defeated a lot of times, but yet they come back. Because their number one concern is who they are. What they can do for themselves by who they are. If you try to be something else, you'll never succeed.
NANACOA, National Adult Children of Alcoholics Conference. And one young man up there got up there and he talked. And as he was talking, he had so much pride, and he talked about the gifts of our elders and how important it is for us, you know, just like what I said, how important for us to take pride in this and to not shame our elders by turning to alcohol or drugs. And he was, as he was speaking, and he talks with such pride about being Indian, how glad he was being Indian, and you know that it was really emotional. And that just kind of really knocked my socks off, I think, you know. And so I felt that same pride too.
But I think it's very difficult to ask for help. I think being raised in a culture for years that there wasn't a lot of permission to ask for help. In fact, our elders were told not to teach young people the rituals of the tribe. They were taught not to teach the language, the religion, the ceremonies. And because of that, we don't have a model to learn how to ask for help either. And although the elders still have that knowledge, or other people, maybe they're not elders, some of the older people in the tribe have the knowledge, there isn't a model for young people to ask how to get it.
I like to be approached openly on anything, on any question. And over the years, I come to realize, I think the most fear, again, comes to misunderstanding. Our own tribal people have that fear of stepping forward, of admitting that they don't know anything about their own culture, their own language. They have that fear, and they don't want to come forward. They don't want to admit that. And I don't think they should have that fear. They shouldn't be ashamed of not knowing their language. They shouldn't be ashamed of not knowing who they are. Because not everyone had that opportunity.
I just like them to come up and say, hey, would you sit down and give me a few minutes or hour or whatever? I'm here. I'm just like a rock there that's solid in my ways. And if somebody wants a piece of that rock, all they got to do is come to me and ask me. I will give it to them. And so is the rest of the elders. They're the same way. We're here for a reason. And we've been here for a reason for a long time. We still smile. We still enjoy life.
I enjoy teaching. I enjoy helping the other, especially our younger generation. I enjoy drumming. I enjoy my Salish language never did go away. No matter if I'm by myself for 10 years, I'm still, I still know it. But it's enjoy and, helping, trying to bring it back. Like some people, they're just starting a drum group. I'm there. I'll gladly help somebody, start a drum group that I know a lot of songs. I know a lot of our old traditional songs. Just like I said, I'll be willing to help them, anything they want. Some kind of song that they don't know, or if I don't know the songs, there's somebody around there that I can get the songs from.
I would just like to have young people, to come to me, maybe, or to any of the elders or younger people that know about tradition and that are practicing that, to come and just visit with us, be with us, and then we could, tell them stories or teach them about whatever we know, so that they can use this to make themselves have a better life, a better place to live. And I think knowing who you are, knowing your culture, knowing your traditions is really important. And of course the spirituality, You know, a lot of people, I think, sometimes are scared. They think it's something really awesome beyond their reach. You have to be a special person to have it, to have that connection with your Creator. But it's not. It's you and your Creator. You know, and maybe we could just help them find that.
I would like them to come right to me and ask me, and if I couldn't help them, then I would find the right person that could. See, there's a, I don't know what it is. When I was drinking, I used to watch these guys, and Chris Lozo comes to mind. I'd watch him in the bowling alley. He didn't drink, you know, he drank coffee. I'd watch him, he'd have as much fun bowling as the rest of us. And then when he was done, he'd put his bowling ball away and went home. Well, we stayed there and drank. You know, and I used to watch him and want to ask him, you know, how do you do it? But I was afraid to. And if we get across anything here, is to tell them people, don't be afraid to ask us. You know, don't wait. I mean, if they have something that they're having a problem with, you know, come to us. And like I said, if I can't do it, I can find somebody that can. And I think that's our biggest hold-up, that people want to ask, but are afraid to ask.
It seemed like since I've sobered up, in just a short time, in the last 2 years, I know how difficult it is for people to sober, you know, just taking that first step. And I would like the people to know that if they need help, boy, I would help them any way I can. I think it's really important to take that risk, to reach out to somebody and just and tell them, I need your help. And I understand that probably more than a lot of people. I don't know, it's got to change. We've got to break that cycle someplace.